Many families learn about the painful need for organ donors when their child is in need. That was the case for a Tamarack woman whose daughter needs a new liver. As Eyewitness News reporter Bertha Coombs-Sagay tells us, the family's been on a waiting list for almost a year.
16-month-old Rachel Lobos and her family spend a lot of time in hospitals. Rachel was born with Illyria atresia, a defect of the liver. Someday soon, she'll need a liver transplant.
They give her up to 5 years old. Right now, she's almost a year and a half. So that's a long time to wait of going up and down, and, you know, sometimes she might need it, and then all of a sudden she'll get better again.
Because she's relatively healthy right now, Rachel is not at the top of the transplant list. Nationally, there are 600 children under age 10 waiting for organ donors. It's a tiny fraction of the 25,000 children and adults who need transplants. But the number of potential donors for young children is very small.
Children that are very young and who suddenly have end-stage organ failure obviously have a very traumatic situation for themselves and their family, and they desperately need some other family who's also confronted with a tragedy to make a gracious, generous decision to donate organs.
And that makes an already tough situation that much harder. For families who wait, like the Lobos, one of the most difficult parts emotionally is knowing that for their child to live, another family must suffer a loss.
Somebody is going to have to lose a child for me to keep her healthy. And I think about that, and it hurts.
More and more families faced with the death of a child are becoming receptive to the idea of organ donation. Bonnie Lobos hopes that there will be a family who'll want to help when that critical moment of need arises for Rachel. In Coral Springs, I'm Bertha Coombs-Sagay, Channel 10, Eyewitness News.
And Rachel is one of 200 South Floridians now on transplant lists.
We're up to $300,000.
16-month-old Rachel Lobos was born with a disease that is slowly destroying her liver. And since the day she was born, she's been in and out of hospitals for tests and treatment. Rachel has undergone an operation to take care of the problem temporarily, but could need a transplant at any time.
There's lots of ups and downs, and, you know, one minute she could be doing well, and the next minute she might need it right away. You never know in this situation.
And there are 750 children in this country in the very same situation. Babies who need new livers.
It's very difficult because, unfortunately, some other baby has to pass away for her to get an organ, and then the parents have to donate the organs.
As tough as it is to find organs for adult patients, it's even tougher to find organs for babies. Obviously, Bonnie Lobos has been watching the story about the little girl at Broward General Hospital with more than a casual interest.
That's got to really hurt to sit and watch a story like that.
It really does. It's sad, the legal bureaucracy that they're having right now.
Until the system is changed legally, all parents like Bonnie Lobos and children like Rachel can do is wait and hope.
They tell you there's a pretty good chance that they'll find a donor for Rachel by the time she really needs the transplant?
They just say they hope so. They don't give you any real odds. They just say, we hope we have one at the time when she needs it, because there are so many children right now that need transplants.
In Coral Springs, Steve Abrams, Channel 4 News.
Well, in Rachel's case, a special trust fund has been set up to help out with her medical bills. If you can help, write to the Liver Foundation. The address is 1425 Prompton Avenue, Cedar Grove, New Jersey, 07009.
Rachel Lobos looks like a healthy child, but her mother says the little girl is getting worse.
You wouldn't know by looking at her that she's sick, but she's very sick inside. She has a liver that's slowly destroying itself.
Rachel needs a liver transplant. She's been on a waiting list for a year and a half.
Every time the phone rings, you're on edge a little bit, waiting, hoping that maybe this is the phone call. And unfortunately, right now, it hasn't come.
Doctors don't know how long Rachel has left.
While Rachel and her family wait for an organ donor, there are many more just like her. Nearly 700 people in Florida are waiting for organ transplants, and experts say the need is great.
We are losing 9 patients a day nationwide, waiting for someone to say yes.
Her family has watched the baby Teresa case with anxious anticipation, hoping the Florida Supreme Court will take a stand in helping to make more organs available to those who so desperately need them.
I can't see wasting a beautiful body like this. This was a beautiful baby. And the heart was good, and the liver, and the kidneys, and even the little tiny fingernails were perfect. You know, it's a shame. It's really a shame to let a child like that lay there and deteriorate in 9 days down to nothing, for nothing, you know. That doesn't make sense to me.
Action News anchor Diana Morgan spent the evening with a Broward family that could be directly affected by that ruling. Diana, what are they saying?
Well, Barbara, as you said, today's Supreme Court ruling has sparked reaction from all across the state, including reaction tonight from one Tamarack family. They are awaiting a liver transplant for their young daughter. Rachel Lobos of Tamarack loved playing with her toys tonight like most little girls about to turn 2 years old. But unlike most little girls, Rachel desperately needs a new liver to stay alive. Rachel suffers from a condition called biliary atresia, and only an organ transplant will save her. But her mom, Bonnie, says getting an organ for a child is not easy.
There are so many children that are waiting for organs that need organs, and a baby that is born with encephalitis isn't going to live anyways, and they're not saving lives by, you know, ruling against it.
So Bonnie Lobos is naturally disappointed at today's Florida Supreme Court ruling in the case of baby Teresa. The state's high court says these babies born with only a brainstem cannot be declared dead, the court refusing to expand the traditional definition of death to provide their organs for transplants.
There really won't be an impact right now on the organ procurement program, simply because as of today, we have never been able to get organs from the anencephalic child.
Dr. Leslie Olson is director of the University of Miami Organ Procurement Program. He told me tonight that he hopes today's court decision forces the legislature to change the definition of life and death, giving more kids like young Rachel a chance at life.
It may be that with this ruling, the legislatures will relook at the issue of brain death, including or excluding the brain stem as criteria for legal death.
If Rachel Lobos is to enjoy playing with her family for a long, long time, her mom prays that more people will realize just how important transplants really are.
My daughter is waiting, and, you know, she depends on somebody else's organ to have a new life. You know, she doesn't have long.
Now, you may not realize it, but here in the state of Florida alone, about 800 to 1,000 transplants, organ transplants, are performed each and every year. Barbara.
Thank you, Diana.
Tops tonight's Health News Now report. Ileana Bravo has more. Ileana?
Well, Teresa, the need is greater than ever before. The number is now more than 30,000 people on the National Transplant waiting list. It's an astounding figure, and none know the anguish better than the families of those who wait for the gift of life.
There's no way out, you know. The ultimate thing is death. But I want my child to live. And,
a mother's cry for help to anyone who will listen. 2.5-year-old Rachel Lobos will die unless she gets the liver transplant she's needed practically since birth.
Rachel is just progressing towards that direction.
While she waits on the national organ transplant list, she just gets sicker, hurting her chances of eventually surviving a transplant. This shouldn't have to be Rachel's fate, but in this country, 7 people a day die waiting for transplants.
The list has actually doubled in the last 5 years.
This is the list. The computer is rolling through more than 30,000 names. Why so many? Because there's a critical shortage of suitable organs or donors available.
85% believe in the concept of organ donation, and that moreover, 9 of 10 say if their loved ones had discussed or requested donation, they would honor that.
That's what a Gallup poll shows, but people's fears include thinking organ donation is against their religion, or that they'll be disfigured or still be alive at the time of donating. None of that is true.
It's very difficult for the person that gives the organ, but they can get gratification to know that they're saving another person's life. From their tragedy, can my daughter have life?
And Rachel is only one of 200 South Floridians awaiting transplants. Now, while 2/3 of South Florida transplant recipients are minorities, minorities only account for 1/3 of organ donations, so that speaks a lot about the problem.
You're holding some cards, which we want to point out.
These are transplant organ donor cards. All you have to do is sign one of these. They come in English and in Spanish. You sign it right here. One witness signs it along with you, and you become an organ donor.
You can get them at the University of Miami.
Yes, we happen to be lucky and have a transplant center right here in town.
All right, Ileana, thank you very much.
Sure. 800-24-DONOR. That's Health Headlines. Back to you, Tony. And I know you signed an organ donor card as